October the 8th. And Renee, would you call the roll, please?
Susan Denny.
Here.
Nancy Gentlecore.
Here.
Dr. Miller. Here. Stephen Stroud.
Here.
John Price. And Chairman Russell.
Here. Okay. And you have before you the minutes of last meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I'd like to have a motion to approve as submitted.
I wasn't here.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the 23rd of April.
I will second that motion.
And thank you. Susan, call a roll. Renee, call a roll, please.
Susan Denny.
For.
Nancy Gentlecore.
For the motion?
Dr. Miller. For the motion. Stephen Stroud.
For the motion.
And Mr. Russell.
4. Okay. Over here. And our first order of business tonight is to enter a new applicant. Is Michael Hartman here? Hi, Mr. Hartman, would you come forward to the microphone and make sure you can log in and we can hear you
Yes.
enough? Okay. You have applied to serve on the P&Z board, looked at your qualifications, and they look as good as I've ever seen. And I wonder if anybody else, and I'll start with Nancy, if you have any questions for Mr. Hartman.
No, I really don't. I think everything is here, and you certainly look like you'd be an asset to us.
Thank you.
And thank you for doing this.
Steve?
I'm interested in hearing your story, so I will sit back and when you get your opportunity, I'll listen.
Okay, it's really quite simple. We've lived here since 2019 in the city, but our involvement with Cape Canaveral goes back to 1989. My in-laws retired and moved to 116 Jefferson Avenue in 1989, and they lived there until 2017. I came down as the outside CPA for one of our clients whose office was next to Portside Galley in early 93. And they made me a job offer. And so I went back home and said to my wife, I said, do you want to live in Cape Canaveral? And she was not as thrilled as I was, because I was definitely sold on it. And I told her, I said, well, one way or the other, I'm moving. So she came along for the ride. So we've been in Brevard County since 1993. Even though we didn't move to Cape Canaveral originally, I've been involved with the businesses here since '89 through my in-laws. Worked all over the 5.5 years, over 4 years as president, and just felt that it was time to give it up to somebody else after that amount of time. It's always good to have new blood on the board, I think. And I saw that there was an opening here. And it fits right in with what I've been doing for the last 32 years. So I'd love to just bring my knowledge to what we have here. I love the fact, I grew up in Baltimore. We were 90,000 people in a 1 acre, 14-foot wide row houses. And I love the small town feel of Cape Canaveral. I've always loved it since we've been coming down here. And so I'm not in any hurry to make any rash judgments on anything in terms of development I'm not against development. I'm not for development. I just look at it and see, does it make sense to me? And that's how I've always judged development in my 32 years. I have no formal training as a developer. I learned it on the fly by doing it. And that's me in a nutshell, basically.
Yeah, that's good.
How about you, Susan?
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of experience that will be utilized on this board. And which did you like better, Merritt Island or Rockledge or Cape Canaveral?
I like Cape Canaveral. I always wanted to live here. But I have to admit, we were always boaters, so we were on a canal in Diana Shores. So that was
Yeah.
pretty nice having our boat right behind our house. So.
Yeah.
But, you know, boating got a little old, and you get a little older, it's hard to take care of a boat. And after 34 years, we said enough's enough and sold our last boat in December of 2018 and started looking over in Cape Canaveral.
Sure. Well, if you come aboard, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay. Michael Miller.
I don't have any questions, but I say welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We can use the help.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for applying and bringing your talent. I've got a voice problem today. I've got some kind of something that's happening to my vocal cords, making me sound like I'm singing tenor, but do the best I can. Okay, then if there are no further questions for the applicant, then we need to have a motion to recommend his appointment to the city council. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend Mike for the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay, is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. Would you please call the roll, Renee?
Susan Denny.
For the motion.
Nancy Gentilcore.
For the motion?
Dr. Miller.
For the motion.
Stephen Stroud.
For the motion.
Lamar Russell.
4. Okay, we have recommended you to the council, and what's the next move? He has to go before the Inquisition in front of the council to for the final appointment?
Yes.
Later this month.
Okay,
October 21st is the date of that council meeting, and we already have it on the tentative agenda.
very good. Okay, well, good luck in front of the council, and
Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to working with all of you.
all right. You're invited to ask questions or take part in the discussion this evening.
I'm just going to watch and learn right now.
Well, we're all learning all the time. And today is going to be, I think, a learning experience. We're going to talk about our next item on the agenda. Well, before we do that, I'm supposed to ask for public participation. If there's any member of the public that wants to bring something forward to the P&Z board, now's the time to do so. And I don't see any clamor in the audience, so we'll move past that. And then we'll go into number 3 on the agenda, consideration of a lot split application. It's at 9009 Astronaut Boulevard, approximately 7.19 acres, identified as tax parcel 343715 00252, and another tax parcel 243715000267. I wonder where they get those numbers. At any rate, we're moving past that, and we're going to ask Connor to take us through the data packet and highlight the pertinent points.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Russell. So this is a lot split that you'd be recommending approval. You might be recommending approval to have this go before the council, and the council would pass a resolution to make this lot split official. It is at 9009 Astronaut Boulevard. There are currently 2 hotels on this lot, and the reason why there are 2 different tax parcels for this property is that the applicant requested the Brevard County Property Appraiser's Office to split into 2 different tax parcels. It used to just end in 252, but now we have a 267 and a 252. At the time the tax parcels were requested, the tax parcel split was not approved by the city, but they currently remain under the same ownership, and both structures on the lot currently have CO and are 2 fully operational hotels. So the City of Cape Canaveral Code of Ordinances, section 9866, allows for lot splits if they're approved by resolution following a review by Planning and Zoning Board and then final approval by the City Council. I included some information about what lots are required to have to comply with our code, area and dimensions, setbacks. But long story short, the proposed lot split was reviewed by city staff, including the Community and Economic Development Department and the city engineer, and has been found to be compliant with the applicable city code requirements and comprehensive plan guidance. The request is recommended for approval based on the findings, and the city engineer's compliance letter is also attached to the agenda item. You can note that the certificate of occupancy for Country Inn Suites, which is the hotel on the rear end farthest from A1A, was approved on September 11th, 2006. And more recently, in April of 2025, the Hyatt Place Hotel was provided a CO and has been in operation since then. So the tract of land is potentially eligible for approval of a lot split if they comply with the criteria outlined in section 9866-4, which is the review criteria analysis. And I won't go through all of them, but it mentions zoning, it mentions consistency with the comprehensive plan, conformance to code in terms of creating lots and tracts of land, ingress and egress, which both properties have the ability to exit and enter the site, that it's in harmony with the surrounding neighborhoods, that it will not create burdensome congestion, orderly layout of land, all of these things. And keep in mind that both of these structures are currently in existence and in operation, and that the lot split is more of a mechanism for splitting the land rather than approving any development, as the structures are already in place. So after all of that, city staff found that the proposed lot split did satisfy criteria outlined in 9866, and they recommend that the board recommend approval of the lot split application to the city council, in which they would approve a resolution. Thank you.
Okay, so did you say the original request to split the parcels was turned down by the council?
It wasn't necessarily that it was turned down. It was never heard before the boards. They ended up going to the county before they went through the city process. So that's why it shows as 2 different tax parcels through Brevard County, but it was never heard before boards as a lot split application here in the city. So now we're looking to officiate that.
Okay, so the council just wasn't wasn't ready to.
Typically, the process is that they'd go to the city and then go to the county, but they ended up going to the county first.
Yeah, okay. Okay. We keep running into that. Is that laid out or explained? I didn't look it up. I should have, but I had a lot going on, and I didn't do that homework. Is that part of the process explained that should go?
Anthony, do you want to address that?
Unfortunately, that's kind of the way it operates. The property appraiser and the tax collector, they do their thing. One of the things that they don't review for is compliance with subdivision regulations. That's a city issue. So we've had situations in the past where property owners would just go down to the county and record a deed and subdivide the property without coming to the city for review under the subdivision regulations. This one is slightly a little bit different. The property owner, Portview, they still own the entire property, the 7.19 acres. What they did is they just went down to the county and had the tax collector issue an additional tax parcel ID for another lot, right?
So that's not a lot split, that's just
They didn't
divided
illegally,
tax
well,
parcels.
they just went and got the tax parcel, then they realized, oh, we're supposed to come to the city for, subdivision of land approval. So they came to the city after that and applied for, a lot split. Because under our code, you can take one lot of record and you can, split it up into no more than 2 parcels. Without going through the full platting process. So they came to the city seeking a lot split that is basically the same dimensions of the 2 tax parcels that the tax collector recognized. Now, again, this is also a classic example of why property owners need to come to the city for subdivision approvals, because they did not address whatsoever the issues regarding access, utility easements, and drainage, which will be shared by both parcels of land, both lots. So there is a condition of approval, and you'll see the document in your package for the declaration of the reciprocal easements. It took months to get that from the applicant, and a lot of city engineer planning and my review to work with the applicant to try to figure out, well, if the city recognizes these 2 lots as separate lots for development purposes, the city needed to ensure that there would be reciprocal access that's guaranteed for both lots, reciprocal utility easements that serve both lots, and then the shared drainage facility that needed to be recognized by an easement. So that's a condition of approval with respect to this this proposed lot split. Now, of course, and I think Connor alluded to it, they've constructed 2 hotels on the 7.19 acres. Both those hotels were approved after planning and zoning board review, but at the time, under the presumption, it's gonna remain just on 2 hotels on 1 lot. They've decided now, after the Hyatt Place was issued a certificate of occupancy, that they prefer to have each of the hotels on a separate lot. And that's why they're here before you. They're not here, but their application is.
Is the owner here or applicant here?
I don't see it.
Okay. Well, I guess I was a little puzzled about what's the rationale for the split other than just having each hotel on its own parcel. That's an odd split. And by the way, 7.7 acres and change is not 10 acres required for 2 hotels.
There's no minimum lot size requirement under the city code regarding hotels. The property is located in the EOOD district, the Economic Overlay Opportunity District. There's a provision in that section of the code that says there are no minimum lot size requirements for hotels. For C1 property within the EOD district.
I asked that question for the public record. I already knew that.
Yeah, I knew you did.
So 2 hotels, 2 lots. It really is an odd split, the way that worked. And the shared easements. If the easements are so tied together forever, why split them in the first place? Is there any rationale for that?
I suspect that they're going to put sell one of the hotels, or put one of the hotels maybe in a separate LLC, perhaps. So they want the 2 lots. That's not uncommon.
Okay. Question?
Mr. Chairman, did they make a comment that maybe they were doing it because of two separate lenders on the two properties? Because lenders like their assets to be discrete.
Right, currently, based on the title report, if you don't mind if I'll answer the question, we're kind
Please.
of informal at the moment, but based on the title report that they submitted in conjunction with their application, there's only one lender
Okay,
that has a mortgage on the property. One of the other conditions of approval in the resolution will be the joinder of the mortgagee, all right? So the mortgagee, the lender has to sign off and consent to the lot split as well.
okay.
You can stay up there if you want to. Mr. Hartman, just plant yourself there near the mic and we'll include you in as needed. Good question. Okay. He's covered the overlay reg. See if I have any other notes. I had one other note that I was going to ask about before we move too far along, but I think it's way over, not substantial. Well, a lot of data here. It took me a while to read through it and think about it. Used up my couple of days to sit there with some hot coffee nearby and enjoy this beautiful reading. Good job, Coroner, by the way. Good write-up. And, Anthony always puts the right stamp on it. We take that for granted and probably shouldn't. Okay. Beginning with you, Nancy, do you have any additional questions?
Actually, you asked the question that just kind of jumps out at you, where it says one was done in '23, and then it goes down and says was not approved by the city. And I had the same thing. Did they apply, and why wasn't it approved? But I think we've gone through all that.
I'm okay if you are, if everybody else is. So anything else?
No, that was it. It's a great package. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Steve?
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the package and I see no need for any questions at this point. It's pretty straight and forward.
Okay. How about you, Susan?
It does look pretty straightforward, but how do we guarantee the conditions for them sharing the easements and so forth if they do end up selling one hotel?
No, that's a great question. What you don't have in the package is the actual resolution that the city council is required to approve. One of the conditions, of course, is going to be that that reciprocal easement it's a condition of the approval. And there's language in the resolution that makes it, it's perpetual, and that the city has the right to enforce it. And the resolution states that in the event they seek a technical amendment to that document, then they have to come back to the city so the city can review and approve, if necessary, the technical amendment to ensure the reciprocal access, the reciprocal easements, public utility easements, and the reciprocal stormwater drainage system that they share. So the resolution is going to tie all of this up. It gets recorded against the land, and then it's a binding covenant against the land for both lots. That's how we make sure that, it stays as a nice, neat package.
Good, thank you.
Question, if the lots are sold, do they have to assume that? How does that responsibility?
Yeah, it runs with
transfer?
the resolution. Once it's recorded, then it runs with the land. They call it run with the land, and it's binding against the land, and subsequent owners of the land will take title to that land subject to the resolution. That makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael?
I remember when we approved both of these, and we talked about two owners on the same parcel, and that there could be a time when we would split that. So this is what we talked about both times.
Yep, looking ahead. Anything else, Michael?
And what's not noted, Connor, you can probably speak to this too. I mean, staff spent a lot of time with the city engineer to make sure that the lot dimensions and the existing structures are in compliance with the code, meaning, for example, adequate setbacks, right? Lot coverage. So the dimension, fortunately for them, the dimensions of their 2 tax parcels didn't have to be adjusted because of those, the city verified that they meet those city code requirements.
Yeah, I looked for those setback dimensions and some of the other minutia, and it was there. It was all there. It was very complete. I was happy to see that. I kept thinking, this is going to be a bear to get through. And after reading through it, it's laid out so well that I couldn't find anything to pick at.
Yes, Connor did a good job of laying it all out, but I'm sure he'll attest it was a bear to get to this point.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I
Oh,
think
I'm
it's
sure.
been months in the making, probably the beginning of this year that this started, so it's taken some time.
I'm sure. Well, we thank you for that effort. It's a good effort. And we have good staff. You do what we expect, live up to our expectations every time. We appreciate that. Good staff work. I can't think of any other intelligent comments. Unless anyone else had anything to add to this, we'll ask for a motion to recommend this approval to the council. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the lot split from applicant Portview Inn Suites LLC and at 9009 Astronaut Boulevard.
Thank you. And a second.
I second it.
Thank you. Okay, Renee, please call the roll.
Susan Denny,
For the motion.
Nancy Gentilcore,
For the motion.
Dr. Miller,
For the motion?
Stephen Stroud,
For the motion.
Mr. Russell.
4. Now, see, that all seemed rather sudden, but you know my way about these things. The best way to prolong a meeting is to have all the discussion we just had, put the motion on the floor and then ask if there's any more discussion. And that'll do it every time. Add another half hour. So anyway, we got through that. We're done with that one. We're going to move to item 4. It's a consideration of an ordinance to amend Chapter 110, and it's the code relating to residential plan unit developments. And I'm going to be curious to see where we arrive at. I guess my question is going to be, and I'll throw it out there and we can not answer it now. Are we going to have to go change all the zoning maps to put in RPUDs? Because right now we don't, it's just residential. At any rate, keep that question in the back of your mind. Just if we got to do it, we'll do it. And with that said, I'll ask Connor if he wants to lead us through the package.
Yes, certainly, thank you. So yes, this is considering a ordinance that would amend Chapter 110, the section on residential planned use developments. And a point of clarification to make at the beginning is that while this is listed in the recommendation as Resolution 2025-09, it will actually be an ordinance, and it will be Ordinance 07-2025. That was a staff error. So Renee, when we do make the official record, if we could change the recommendation from Resolution number 2025-09 to instead read recommend Ordinance number 07-2025 to City Council for approval or denial. So now that I've cleared that up, I will just briefly talk about these changes. It comes mostly from the fact that our PUD procedures have been a part of the city code since at least 1981, and no properties have ever officially been designated as our PUD. Mr. Russell kind of referred to that in the fact that we don't have any of them on our zoning map. We do have one PUD on our zoning map, but we do not have any RPUDs. And so that PUD is currently on our existing zoning map, and if there were to ever be a property that was an RPUD in the city, yes, it would also be included within the zoning map, and it would require updates to the map. But there are more than just, it's a number of changes, and I hope that you guys took the time to read through the ordinance. One of them is changing the minimum acreage, since we think that that was a big reason why this ordinance was not ever utilized. As it stands, is 10 acres. I don't really know of any 10-acre lots in the city that are currently developable. The ordinance as amended would adjust that down from 10 acres to 4 acres, but there are also a number of other changes. Speaking to things about neighborhood scale, removing some outdated language on density, but the big thing that I noticed is that it manages to support both small scale and larger scale residential designs while still preserving that requirement for a minimum that says a minimum of 15 dwelling acres per project, but I believe that it would actually be a minimum of 15 per project, but they would still be restricted in terms of the density that they could do on the site as a maximum. So there are a number of changes that are made. I think the bullets encapsulate some of them. Another one is that there are some discussions on open space, community benefits, and incentivizing, community open space along the Banana River and Atlantic Ocean where applicable, and really just trying to clean up this RPUD ordinance to make it to where something that might actually get implemented and encourage a high quality residential product in the city. Of course, with these projects, they are still, under board review. Our PUD projects would still go before the Planning and Zoning Board. They'd still go before the City Council. The boards would still have a lot of control and almost creative freedom or flexibility to work with the developer to request certain things through the PUD process so that we can create some high quality outcomes for the city. So at the end of the day, the staff recommendation was to recommend ordinance number 7, 2025 to the City Council for approval, and we can have as much discussion as we want. Thank you.
So right now, we don't have an RPUD on our zoning map. So what is the inherent advantage of not using the RPUD regulations and just simply laying out your development and going into the residential zoning? Mm-hmm. And that's what's been happening. There must be something that's valuable or easier or attractive.
Sure.
What is that?
There could be a number of those things. I think that one of them may have been that the process as it was a little bit clunky and bureaucratic. We removed the procedural duplication, and now it would allow developers to combine their preliminary and final development plan steps. It would still go before the boards, of course, but I think that it's a rather lengthy process. So the amount of time that it would take to do it as compared to something that's allowed by code, combined with the fact that there aren't many large developable parcels in the city. And I think that those two things together kind of in my opinion, created it, but you have been around for a lot longer in the city than I have, so definitely curious if you have any ideas as to why it's not been implemented.
Well, all I can say is, we set the table. We can't make the customers eat. So we laid out a way to have an RPUD, and within an RPUD, you can move things around as you want without having to do individual site plans. And that's the beauty of it. And I often wondered why it wasn't used more, but didn't seem to hold the developers back. They came in with their, I guess they moved all that stuff around on their checkerboard before they came before the city and started getting it into codification or into official documentation. This, we may do this, and according to history, it may still not take. Anyway, that's just a comment. That's an aside. We set the table and let the customers come.
Yes, yeah, you can't force anyone to do a certain setup. I do think that removing the acreage from 10 down to 4 may encourage more people to use it, because we do have some parcels that are 4 acres as opposed to 10, and with those smaller parcels, there may be an instance in which people are able to utilize the site and have more creative solutions, whether that's with stormwater retention, flooding, clustering the development, more community open space. So that is the intent of the ordinance, but definitely happy to talk it through.
Okay. Nancy, do you have any questions?
I just wondered about the need for it. I was wondering, if you had people come and say, hey, can we make some changes here and do this type of development, or is it something that you're kind of cleaning up yourself?
We have had some people in the pre-application phases that have come tentatively to the city talking about, I may own this parcel or this one, and I don't think that this directly comes as a result of that, but we did kind of see that there was nobody coming forward with 10-acre parcels, and
Yeah, there's no big parcels left.
no.
What about the existing PUDs? Would they be then rezoned to be RPUDs?
So the one PUD,
Ocean Woods, I know, is one.
So technically Ocean Woods is not listed as a PUD or an RPUD according to our code. The PUD is actually that storage place along A1A on the right side where there's some parking. It's a rather large parking lot, some storage and some other spaces. That is the one PUD in the city, and those are kind of intended to be commercial, mixed use in nature. The RPUD is the one that allows for residential creativity. So there would be no change to the PUD code, as it's completely separate from the RPUD.
Just going to.
Anthony, you got a question?
Yeah, I was gonna, if you have other questions, you can go ahead. I mean, I would suggest ask them, but I want to circle back and just kind of give you my perspective on this.
Yeah, we'll do that. How about you, Steve?
If you can go to page 25 and look at section 110-442, off-street parking. There's a reference in here that says, and I'll read it, each space must contain at least 180 square feet of area and shall conform to off-street parking dimensional requirements as set forth in section 110-494. Could you bring up that other item and put it, okay. If you will look at a document, there was a ordinance done by the city. Let me get it pulled up here, and it is dated 12/15 of 2020. and it sections 110.494 is dimensions. This was changed in 2020 and approved by council that the parking requirement would be 162 square feet and not 180 square feet as stated in 110, stated in the other prior document on 110.442, off-street parking. So I'm just pointing that out. That appears to be an error that might need to be corrected. 180 square feet, it should read 162 feet in accordance with the ordinance.
What does that equate to in width of the,
9 by, I want to say 9 by 18. Yeah, 10 by 18 is 180, so 9 by 18 is 162.
Yep, and I will say that's accurate, that we've been having 9-foot wide parking spots.
Yeah, as
in
I
the
was
city.
reading through this, I went back and referenced the 110.494 and for a little bit of clarity, and that's where I saw the error. So that might be something that we request a change on.
Yeah, Anthony, would that work as just
Yeah, no, I think that's a good catch. That ordinance, 110.494 was changed in 2020.
Yep.
So we just need to make the two sections consistent.
Approved December the 15th, 2020.
anything else
That's it for this.
for this iteration?
Huh? Yeah.
That's it for this iteration, right?
Come back.
Yeah. Susan?
Well, I think you kind of answered it or not. I was just wondering what brought this up to the board and why we're doing it if there's no interest in the RO in this.
Yeah, I do believe that there would be interest. Obviously, like Mr. Russell said, you can't force anyone to use any sort of procedure, but I do think that it would allow for some creativity in the way that we manage our stormwater and the way that we cluster development. We want to make sure that products are high quality products. It wouldn't mean that any product would get pushed through the door. It would still go through a very, high level staff and very detailed board review. But I think that it's just providing more flexibility for the city to be able to ask for things that might benefit the property and benefit all residents as well.
So when they come in with their preliminary meeting, gives you a chance to point out in PUD, RPUD or not.
Correct.
And talk about the,
Yes, it gives them
Differences.
two paths almost in which they say, yeah, you either have to follow our code or maybe you get an exception on this one thing in exchange for something that we get out of it.
No further questions right now.
Michael?
So basically, it just gives the city more leeway, more options.
Correct. It would give the city more options in pursuing the RPUD with the developer if the developer were to move forward with, having interest in making an RPUD. So it would be a collaborative process in which the city would work with the developer, but we can only do it once someone expressed interest in doing it. But as anyone comes forward, it would give the city flexibility to say, hey, we might want to request this additional thing in your development. It's a path forward. It's almost like two different train tracks doing something by right or through the RPUD process, and they both can yield high quality results, but it just gives both of us more options.
Okay. I don't have any add-on comments. Anthony? Oh,
I'm finished.
Mr. Chair,
go ahead, Mr. Hartman.
sorry about that. Can you just clarify, I wasn't quite sure if I understood. Is there a maximum density per acre in terms of number of units?
Anthony, do you recall as you
Yes.
wrote it?
Yeah, the comprehensive plan of the city, and it would apply to the RPUD. It's a maximum residential density of 15 dwelling units per acre.
Okay,
So that's set forth in the comprehensive plan. In addition, the way the proposed revisions also require an RPUD to have a minimum of 15 dwelling units.
okay, All right, I was just wondering what the maximum density was. If I could make one more comment, it might not be pertinent to this one, but just something, looking at the revision, the size of the parking spaces. We have a problem at Porta del Rio sometimes because we don't have bumper stops on our older buildings. They weren't required evidently. Well, when people pull all the way into the parking space, they block the sidewalk. So if somebody's in a wheelchair, in some places they can't get by. So I don't know if our code requires bumper stops, but something to think about, because sometimes it's a problem in our buildings. We've had to notify a lot of residents to say, hey, you're pulling in too far and people can't get by in a wheelchair. And it makes it tough, so.
So how about the residential organization? What do you call it?
Our condo association.
The association?
Yeah.
And
We put out what's called Do You Know, and we've kind of laid it out for everybody. Please don't have your bumpers going over the sidewalk, but
the association can take it a step farther.
we could.
Go
We
ahead.
could. It's a fairly expensive proposition for all. We have a lot of spaces we have 172 units, so we'd have like 300 bumper stops to put in, which would,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, well,
I'm just saying, just something to think about. I don't know if it's in our code or not, but just something to think about in the future. And that may be totally not germane to this particular ordinance, but
it's an interesting,
something to think about.
it's an interesting thought path. You maybe come up with a plan and your association can go and talk to the city manager about some kind of cost sharing in the interest of safety.
Okay.
So, it's just a thought path. It doesn't cost anything to talk about it.
No, I was just thinking of it for developments going forward, something that we might
Well,
think
true.
about.
For development going forward, probably ought to require them. And do we require bumper stops in our parking stops in developments?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen that specific provision, but if Mr. Hartman's on the board, we can dive into it deeper, and then he might end up bringing an ordinance forward.
Well, it's not a problem we need to solve today.
No,
Correct.
just something for future consideration.
Good thought. Okay, where were we? We were talking about,
Yeah, I think Anthony was gonna.
yeah, that's where I was going with that. We're gonna circle back and let Anthony make some comments about the total process.
Okay, so as Connor indicated, there's been some pre-application inquiries and interest in doing flexible residential development projects at a rather larger scale rather than what we have seen with duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, and stuff like that. So that resulted in kind of taking a look at the city's existing RPUD zoning code. So first and foremost, the RPUD is a zoning district. It's not just a regulation, right, with standards. It's a zoning district. It's intended to go through a rezoning process, just like if somebody requested a C1 zoning district for their property and wanted to change, right, to C1 zoning. So
But right now, we don't have one.
right now, we have none, even though this ordinance has been on the books since the 1980s. So when you look at the purpose and intent of the RPUD, it's supposed to recognize these residential development projects only through ingenuity, imagination, and flexibility, in keeping with the intent of the RPUD process. The RPUD regulations currently on the books are anything but flexible. So that's problem number one. There are too many hard-coded requirements to afford any flexibility. For example, minimum 10 acres. And then there are minimum this, that, and the other thing regarding setbacks and all. And so it's very hard-coded as you must do this and you must do that. The PUD process, again, is a zoning designation that has to go through a rezoning process, and it's intended to provide flexibility. The proposed changes are intended to provide that flexibility. So as Connor indicated, the first major change would be, given the size of Cape Canaveral and the fact that it's practically built out and the lots are smaller, is to reduce the minimum acreage for an RPUD from 10 to 4, to provide an opportunity for somebody to utilize this and present a more flexible development project. So that's first and foremost. So as Mr. Hartman's question alluded to, doesn't change the maximum density requirement in the city comprehensive plan. The maximum density stays at 15 dwelling units per acre, but this ordinance also requires a minimum of 15 dwelling units. And the purpose for that is to make sure that when we go through this rezoning process, it's a residential development project of at least a minimum size. It's not your one-off 1, 2, 3, 4 units. It's got to have a minimum of 15 dwelling units for the project to go through this process. In addition, I would say that procedurally, this RPUD ordinance is flawed by modern standards. It doesn't really do what it needs to do. So we went ahead and made some clarifications and changes to the procedure to get an RPUD zoning district. In conjunction with making those changes, we made a very important clarification. When you go through this process, it could be a multi-stage process where a developer submits a preliminary development plan for review. It's sort of like a concept plan, and you get that approval, and then you have to move through the process and do a final development plan to get the final rezoning of the property, the more detailed engineering and site plan. This ordinance would allow a consolidation of preliminary and final at times at the option of the developer, but it also consolidates all of the other permits and reviews that may be necessary to do an RPUD, like a plat, right, under Chapter 98, the site plan approval. Those are all consolidated in the final development plan process. So when the council eventually makes a final decision on the rezoning to RPUD, it will have before it, if required, the plat, the site plan, and any variance requests that may be requested, site-specific bulk regulations like setbacks and all of that will all be consolidated for a final approval, which would be a condition of the RPUD zoning district for that particular property only, which opens up the door to flexibility and creativity based on the site in question, right? The developer can design, of course, with the approval of the city, a more flexible project that the city council ultimately finds worthy of rezoning the land to RPUD. So that's kind of the objective of a lot of these changes. You will see throughout the ordinance a lot of strike through, because, like, for example, the site plan language that's currently in the RPUD, we're proposing to strike all of that because we have a more comprehensive site plan ordinance that would apply, right, to any site plan. We're removing the redundancy and the, and the potential conflicts to try to streamline the process so developers know what the rules of the game are. Rather than have, well, this says this on site plans, but the site plan ordinance says something else. We're trying to streamline and avoid any misunderstandings on the code. So the bottom line, I guess, is at the end of the day, these revisions are extremely far more flexible for a proposed RPUD applicant than currently exists. There's some technical minutia, but the objective is to foster some creative residential development. Again, we've had some preliminary inquiries. We think are probably pretty serious. This would make that potential development at least a possibility for review and consideration.
So if I decide to proceed with an RPUD, and I want to use the ultimate freedom regarding setbacks or distance between buildings. So you're given a density. What if I elected to put all my buildings in one corner of the, 6 acres we're talking about?
Minimum 4.
4. Put all my units in one corner and declare the rest of the 4 acres an open playground. Well, that would be a freedom granted under an RPUD, right?
You would be able to cluster
Yeah.
the units and use the remainder of the property for other attributes like open space and in recreational areas. One of the other aspects of this I didn't touch upon, I think, Tana, you might have touched on it a little bit, is that under the right circumstances, given the location of the property, it also incentivizes access to the river and access to the ocean as an amenity for the proposed dwelling units for open space consideration.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay.
So you would get credit to the open space requirements by affording a genuine level of access to the river or the ocean as an amenity for the residents of a proposed RPUD.
Anything else? All right. Okay, so we're at the point now we're just we either amend what we've got in front of us or we recommend it to the council. We'll drive it around for a while and see how it works. And if it needs to be tweaked, we can come back and do that. So that we're talking about, I'm getting into the bookkeeping. We're on item 4 or 5? Which one
Item
are we?
4.
Yeah. Okay. So our next step then is to recommend this package to the council for approval, right?
Yes, and if you were to, it would be recommending ordinance 07-2025 rather than what's written. One point of clarification, Anthony, would we be able to make that change on the parking without any sort of motion because it was approved previously?
I mean, the board would, if they're inclined to recommend approval, it would be as amended to correct the 180 square feet area reference in 110-442.
Okay.
Okay. Recommended as amended. Anything else? All right, then let's have a motion to put this in front of the council for their approval.
I make the motion to put forth ordinance 07-2025 with the clarification of changing 180 square feet of area to 162 square feet of area for off-street parking in alignment with our other ordinances.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, thank you. All right, we got a motion and a second. Renee, call the roll, please.
Susan Denny,
For the motion.
Nancy Gentilcore,
For the motion?
Dr. Miller,
For the motion.
Stephen Stroud,
For the motion.
Lamar Russell.
4. All right, we move now to item 5, recommendation for continuing.
Yes, and Mr. Russell, if I may explain these two. So the first of the two is related to the comprehensive plan evaluation and appraisal review. That is something that was brought to staff's attention as something that needs to get updated, but at this time it is not ready to be presented. We've been having communications with Florida Commerce to work through that process. And as for the second one that's recommended for continuance, that is so that we can get in compliance with a state Senate bill, Senate Bill 784, and rather than presenting that as an individual amendment, we are going to wrap that into another larger amendment that we're working on, and we'll present both of those at a later date.
Okay, so we have no action to take on tonight?
Correct, but I would like to just mention, while we're here and now that we've closed out on all the action items, that this is going to be, the last meeting for our chair, Mr. Lamar Russell, John Price, who couldn't be with us, and then also Dr. Michael Miller, as the term has hit. And I just want to say that we are super appreciative of all the great work that you guys do, every member of the board. You really do help make the community a better place. We hope that you continue to stay engaged with the community. We're always happy to talk to you at City Hall, but I know that you guys have served on these boards for a great number of years, and you really have made a large impact. You can tell from the ordinances we write to the knowledge that you have, so thank you all very much.
Thank you. So that means tonight is the last meeting for myself, John Price, and Michael Miller. Now, you got a big bunch of vacancies. And also, in the next meeting, there will be without chairman or vice chairman, so they'll have to have a quick election at the beginning of the meeting, right?
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Okay.
So we're looking to bring on Mr. Hartman, and we also have a few other applicants that are in the queue that we have to get processed in terms of trying to figure out what board they'd fit best on.
Well, I'd like to say that this has been the best board. I've been on a lot of boards. This has been the best board, P&Z board, that we've ever had. And so thank each of you for being here and putting up with me and making your contribution.
It's
Good
our
work.
pleasure. Thank you.
Good job, guys. I'll be around. I'll be sitting out there in the audience maybe and helping out with maybe whispering in Connor's ear or something like that. So it's been a pleasure, and I'm around if you need me. And that's all I have. Been a good ride.
Chairman Russell, I have to say, it's just been an absolute honor to serve under your tutelage. The learning process has been unbelievably fantastic. For those that might be watching and for those that don't know, Lamar wrote Lessons Learned in Planning and Zoning. So he is planning and zoning and has been the planning and zoning. And I want to tell you, it's very humbling to be able to serve with you on this board. And
Well, it needn't be. You should enjoy the honor and the ride and take pride in your own contribution. A caveat with that little green book, the references for the ordinance reference numbers are out of date, but the lessons are still the lessons. So pay attention to the lessons, and I think they've stood us in good stead. In fact, I went back and read the book with this subject tonight, hotels. I went back and read the hotel write-up, and that was fun to remember. We had some very heated, hot meetings about hotels and how many units and what kind of acreage, and there was a lot of money involved. And it took a lot of courage for those board members to withstand the sheer weight of the money that these developers could bring forward as hotel developers. But they did it, and we have a good ordinance, better ordinance for it. We did not want a whole bunch of little hotels, 10-unit hotels that later turned into condos, that later turned into not so attractive apartments, and then it went down from there. So I believe that I wrote that ordinance. I sat down and wrote it with Anthony. Were you with us at the time, or was it Joe, who was the city attorney at the time? What was his last name? Joe?
Was it Con, maybe?
Who?
Con?
Con.
Con Bennett?
Con Bennett.
Mm-hmm.
Con Bennett.
Oh, yeah, I was the assistant at that time.
I believe that the hotel ordinance has been my best contribution. We sat down and we wrote it, and we decided the minimum, there are 3 magic numbers for hotel. 150 units, 5 acres, 30 units per acre. So anyway, we have a pretty attractive lineup of large buildings along the business pathway of the town. And so good work, P&Z Board. And that's my farewell address. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Miller, do you have any closing comments, or Dr. Miller?
I keep forgetting, getting turned over. Calm down here. I just want to say it's been an honor to serve on this board, and I have learned so much in the years that I've been here. And I hope that this board moves on and to bigger and better things. Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Miller, it's been a pleasure sitting next to you, and also your input the short time that I've been on this board. And I will say this, who's not present tonight, but Mr. Price was the one that got me to apply for this board here, and it has just been always great, the mix of people we've had since I'll keep saying this, the short time I've been on this board, and it's the balance has just been fantastic. Thoughts that come from John, thoughts that come from Lamar, yourself, and I'm humbled. Thank you.
Well, let's see. There's one more compliment I wanted to give. John Price, his value to our board has been beyond rubies and diamonds. And John, shout out, salute. See you around town. And with that, let us be adjourned.
All right, thank you.
I had no idea, did you know?
You guys need to be thinking about